Well, hello and welcome back to Poshcats Camping. It's Easter 2023 and this is the time of year that people get their campers out, their tents, their caravans, and they start thinking about actually going camping. When we were caravanners years ago, we often put the caravan away in November and out it would come at the end of March and into April. So there's a long season ahead of us. In this video we're going to be talking about our bicycles, our e-bikes in particular, and the equipment that we chose when we were selecting which e-bike to buy and how to mount them on the back of our camper van. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about the bikes because I'm going to show you those in a separate video, but this is all about how we take our bikes to wherever we're going from place to place, and the considerations that we made when selecting which bikes and which equipment to purchase. So here we are with our VW Crafter IH motorhome, which is 6.83 metres long. It's quite a long van, although it's very slim. It's quite a long van. It's a long wheelbase Volkswagen Crafter, and on the back of it we've got a bike rack that we selected and also a boot that we can put bicycles in. And we had to consider first of all the size of the bikes, the weight of the bikes, and how much we could carry in our small camper van. Some large motorhomes can get away with the largest e-bikes, the heaviest e-bikes. Some of them weigh over 30 kilograms each, which you do have to consider when you're choosing the bike in the first place. So our bikes of choice then were the MiRider 1, which retail at around about £1,600 each, plus accessories. They were our choice purely because they were 16-inch wheels. They weigh only 17 kilograms each, plus accessories, so we were allowing 18 kilograms per bike. And we felt that they were light enough and agile enough to take on the back of the camper van. The other thing that we liked about them was the size, the width and height of the bikes, because our motorhome or camper van is quite narrow. We're only 2 metres wide at the back here, so we didn't want the wheels to stick out too far either side of the van. Now the MiRiders are folding bikes. They do fold very small and we could fit them in the boot. But of course, if you fit the bikes in the boot, where do you put the box of equipment, the table, the folding chairs, the wedges, and the levelling wedges that is, and the silver screen that are all packed in the back there, along with electric cables, folding buckets and so on. That's the space where we put all our camping equipment, and we didn't really want the bikes to go in there. Now we already had the towing equipment, which we use for towing our little white car Ethel. It's sitting over here, and we thought perhaps we could have a bike rack that fitted onto the tow ball. So that was the route that we took, and we ended up purchasing what we thought was a good quality product from Thule, and that's in this big black bag. Let's open it up and I'll show you what it's like. Now the reason we bought the bag, which incidentally was about £40, and it's specifically made for the Thule product, it's a zip-up bag, and the thing we liked about it was that if the Thule folding bike rack was to get dirty, we could put it in the bag and put it inside the vehicle when we're not using the cycle rack. So if we go out in the bikes, the Thule cycle rack is safe and it won't be stolen while we're away. So I'll put the bag to one side. And here we are with the folding bike rack. First thing I have to do is to take the tow ball off here. Easier said than done. All we have to do is, with the handles here, is to lift the whole unit onto the tow bar. and then push the handle down to grip it onto the toe ball. There's a little bit of pressure there, and that is now connected to the toe ball. The next thing that's important to do is to plug in the electrics, and we've got the model with the 13-pin plug, which is a European style plug, and we plug that in just as we would a trailer. So it pushes in and turns like so, and it's now secure. And we always make sure that there's enough just so that it doesn't get tangled up when you're opening up the bike rack. The next step then is to unfold the bike rack, and it's really simple. You can push from either side and it clicks into place like so, and that exposes the various straps here which you fix the bikes onto. You've also got two of these clamps, one with a long arm, one with a short arm. And of course you need to have your own number plate, and we got this made up from Halfords, and we've had to put on a UK sticker now because it did have GB on it originally, but we've now got that made up ready to go to Europe. So let's lift the bikes onto the bike rack. I usually put the arms in the upward position and put the first bike on, leaving the pedals at a slight angle, and I usually grip the first bike with the short arm. Now these undo on a thread, and then the bike can be gripped round here. Now they are made for round framed bicycles, but they're also quite a strong grip, so I find with the square frame of the MiRider they still grip really nicely onto there. And when you turn it, there will come a point, if you turn it too far, it will just click, and you'll know then that you've gone far enough. I usually turn it until it's pretty firm. The next thing to do is to put these around the tyres. Now you simply thread them through. These are long enough to go around fat bike tyres as well. There are short ones if you want the short ones, but this came with the longer ones, so you can go between the spokes there, and then I'll show you with the other bike how they go in with the ratchet. But you feed the strap through into there, and you can tighten it with the ratchet. I'll show you that again in a second. Not too tight because you don't want to damage the wheels. Through the wheels like so. And there you have it, one bike on. Now I usually tuck the mirrors in, and then I'm ready to put the second bike on. And with the second bike, I turn it the other way so that the handlebars don't clash. And this time I get the other long arm, and we repeat the process. Clamp the wheels, And here you might see the ratchet. Poke through there. And then tighten it by lifting the ratchet like so until it's fairly tight. Don't over tighten it. And the same on the back. And you'll find these will swivel so that you can get them in a position where they pull the bike onto the bike rack. And there you have it. Now there is another really good feature of the Easyfold, the Thule Easyfold XT2, and this little pedal down here, I'll just put my foot on it, there. This little pedal allows you to press it down and then tilt the bikes like so. That was not very easy to do with one hand, but you can see how that tilts and everything remains in place. The exposes the rear of the hitch here, which should allow us to open the boot from this position here. In most cases, the distance between the bumper and the bottom of the hatchback on a car, or the boot lid, is that we can hardly get a finger under there. So this is right tight on the Volkswagen Crafter, and this presents us with a little bit of a problem. And now you might be able to see with the boot open that it actually fouls with the top of the hitch, only by about 25mm. If I had a 50mm clearance there, or a 50mm difference on the top of the boot here, and just a little bit more space, this would hinge up and I would have full access to what's inside my boot. Unfortunately, this isn't the case. Now, there are one or two solutions that we've looked at. The problem that we've got is that the hitch can be dropped. This is a Westphalia hitch. It can be dropped onto the lower level, which does give us plenty of clearance, but then of course that does mean that there's less clearance underneath. We're concerned about the bike rack grounding if we hit uneven ground or getting on and off ferries. So we've been very reluctant to drop the hitch onto the lower level. We've also thought about spacing it out, but a similar problem would occur because the further out you come, the angle becomes a problem, and also you're putting weight further away from the vehicle, which again could impact the steering. And I spoke with Westphalia and they didn't recommend making any modifications such as that, spacing it out, because that would not have been tested by their factory. So if you've got any suggestions on that, do put it in the comments below, and we can have a little discussion about it. But I don't see how I can do it at the moment, and we've managed with it so far. It just means that we have to take the bikes off to enable us to get into the boot. Now the thing about these bikes is that they retail at around about £1,600 each, and plus the accessories, so you're already looking at nearly £4,000 worth of bicycle. Now what you don't want to happen is for them to fall off, or when you're in the shop somewhere in the supermarket, or you leave your bikes when you're at the ferry terminal or somewhere like that, or even on an air in Europe. You don't want to leave your bikes there and come back and they've gone. So we use quite a bit of security. The locking arms that secure the bikes to the rack are also lockable, so you can turn a key. You do get 2 keys supplied with the bike rack, and also the hitch has a lock on it as well, so you can lock the hitch onto the van, which is really good as well. On top of that, we have our own bike security as well. And what we tend to do is we put the really chunky lock, which requires a key, around the two bikes and secure it to the bike rack as well. And as a double precaution, we then have a looped, this is made by Squire, and this is a long cable with loops at either end and two padlocks with combination numbers on, also made by Squire. And we've had those for a while. We've used them with solar panels on our caravan and with our bicycles previously, so we know that that's a good way of keeping them locked up. So here we are with the bikes on the back of the van. As you can see, they're not sticking out. If I get to the back of the van here, they're not sticking out either side of the van. They're nicely within the van's width. Well, the next consideration is to cover your bicycles for bad weather and for security, of course. And we've tried a couple of covers. We bought this quite lightweight plastic kind of cover, which was about £12 from Amazon. Used it a couple of times, and it used to flap about an awful lot, and I was always concerned it was going to tear. Now, even with the thickest material, eventually they will tear and become a problem. But with the value of the bikes and with everything considered, we wanted to make sure that the bikes didn't get filthy on long journeys if it was wet weather, and we wanted to make sure that they were secure, and it made it difficult for anybody to steal. Even though the bikes are locked up, we didn't want to run the risk of losing the bicycles or the e-bikes. So we bought this rather heavier cover, which was about £45, but it's much thicker denier, and we got this from Amazon. So let's put it on the back and show you what it looks like. So now that the bikes are covered, the next thing I bought was a cargo net. Now this is a CZC Auto cargo net. It's a 4 foot by 6 foot bungee, and it expands to 8 foot by 12 foot. I'll put a link in the description below for all the products that I've shown you today. But let's get this on the back and I'll show you how that keeps everything from flapping around. Well, it does take a little while to put on and just to get right, but then once it's on, it does hold everything secure. There's one more thing that I like to put on the back, and I'll show you that now. And there you have it. All the bikes secure on the back with the red and white chevron reflector symbol on the back. You can see from here that the bikes do stick out another metre or so from the back of the van. Already we're a 6.9 metre van with the tow bar, and we're going to have to claim 7.5 metres because of the handlebars on the top here. As you can see, it's sticking out quite a way. Now, one of the things that you do need to consider is the weight of these bikes. Each of them is 18 kilograms, The larger bikes can go from 25 to 30 kilograms, so you can put larger bikes on the back of this van, but it would add to your payload, and also I'd recommend you take batteries or anything out to make them as light as you can. We've left the batteries on board these bikes purely because they're only 18 kilograms each, and with the weight of the actual carrier itself, we're running at around about 54 kilograms. So that's quite acceptable on the back of the crafter. Now if you're running close to your payload on your van, this one is 3,500 kilograms, that's 3.5 ton maximum weight, and our payload is around about 350 to 400 kilos. Now I drop the water, I don't take a lot of water when we're travelling from place to place, just enough to get us to the next stop, and if we are wild camping then I might have to take half a tank of water, but I make an allowance because there are some things that you can drive without, particularly when you're on a ferry. You don't necessarily need water laying in your tanks until you get to the other side. So plan your journeys, think about your weight, particularly when you're choosing your e-bikes, because they can be extremely heavy. Well, I hope you enjoyed that short video about how we chose and selected the bikes for us, the ones that work for us the best, and the bike carrier as well, and all the kit that goes around it. Our budget was around £5,000, and we managed to keep within that budget and get all the kit we needed to go biking when we go out with our motorhome. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.